Sonic Colors! Oh boy, oh man, oh boy, oh man. Sonic Colors is notable for jump-starting the series again after a horrible nosedive in quality with games like Shadow the Hedgehog, Sonic 06, and Sonic and the Secret Rings. Check out my video on that one if you haven't already. Releasing exclusively for the Wii on November 11th, 2010, Colors strayed away from unnecessary gimmicks, on-rails running, and was a streamlined, to-the-point, no-nonsense platformer where the new addition to the gameplay, these aliens being referred to as Wisps, didn't hinder the overall design and feel of the game. No telekinesis, no werehog, no sword, they were situational power-ups, and while they may be pointless now, that wasn't the case here. The game takes Sonic through 6 worlds, tasked with stopping Dr. Eggman from taking over said worlds through the facade of an amusement park. You ain't fooling anyone, you turd. Sonic Colors is also a continuation of the Boost series. Collecting certain Wisps will increase your boost meter, allowing Sonic to reach even higher speeds as he runs and jumps through this game's stages. When Sonic Colors first came out, it was met with nothing but praise. A good game after so long. The Dark Ages are finally over. Once again, the blue blur has his head in the game. Does this sentiment hold up nowadays, however? Well, this is truly the curious case of Sonic Colors, as the title does entail. Does this game still hold up? Is it still right to consider it a quality title? As the years and years have gone by, and with the recent failure of Sonic Colors Ultimate, more and more people's answer to whether or not Sonic Colors is good is no. Levels that were once praised for their ability to stick to high speed and platforming are now ridiculed for being too short and too reliant on 2D. A story that was once praised for its simplicity and silliness during a time where Sonic's story were anything but is now being criticized for the same thing. What happened? At what point was this game seen in a completely different light, and why? Today, I do my best to find out. At the time of its release, the level design of Sonic Colors was welcomed with open arms, acts playing out like the daytime stages from Unleashed with no werehog in sight, 2D sections roping in fans of old, taking them back to a time where Sonic was at his best when a third dimension was seemingly impossible. The overly long levels of Shadow and Sonic the Hedgehog were nowhere to be found, the on-rails limitations of Secret Rings and Black Knight was completely missing. This was a straightforward Sonic platformer and the fans were overjoyed. But ask someone how they feel today, and you may get a different answer. Sonic Colors features a total of 39 levels, with each world receiving 6 acts apiece, along with a final world that features 3. This sounds like a lot on paper, but Sonic Colors doesn't exactly overstay its welcome. So many levels will you find yourself finishing in less than a minute. With so little time, hardly any stages are given the chance to feel completely fleshed out, dissolving into nothing but basic obstacle courses instead of actual levels. Now, I'm not claiming that levels should return to the days of Heroes, Shadow, and Sonic 06, with those levels reaching 20 plus minutes at times, but I feel there should be a better balance. Along with many levels being too short, many levels are also too 2D? I find this to be an issue, as oftentimes the 3D outshines the 2D with more creative and fun set pieces, while the 2D often showcases nothing more than generic platforming. It's the 3D sections that have you dodging lasers in a fleet of spaceships, devouring massive capsules as the Berserk Wisp, and drifting through massive quarter pipes, while the 2D sections never reach that kind of excitement, and with the stop-on-a-dime control scheme that Sonic Colors sports, that loss of excitement is exasperated even more. Sonic and overly dark stories don't work. Note that I didn't say dark stories in general, as games like Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 deal with darker themes such as extinction, corruption, and world annihilation. It's when the franchise dips its toes too far into that pool, games like Shadow and Sonic the Hedgehog are dark to the point where it almost feels done to parody. No matter how gruesome and gritty they make the world out to be, a 4-foot hedgehog in the middle of it makes it all the less serious by addition alone. I don't care how grim you try to make it, Sega, this scene is stupid and you should feel bad. With that being said, however, don't give the fans a Saturday morning cartoon. Once again, going back to the time of its initial release, Sonic Colors' story was praised for being short, sweet, and lighthearted. Prioritizing gameplay overall, Sonic Colors' narrative took a backseat approach, featuring a simple plot of Sonic vs. Eggman. As said, this was appreciated at the time, but as time went on, fans began to turn. What was once praised is now scoffed upon for the same reasons, with the notion that the story being too basic and whimsical is a fault of the game. Sonic never taking anything seriously and always ready with a joke takes away from the potential direness of a situation, and Eggman's excessive clumsiness downplays his overall character. It's honestly really interesting to see how much this game's reception has changed in the eyes of the fans. When working on this video, I made a poll asking what people thought of Sonic Colors, and the choice with the most votes was mixed. This didn't surprise me given the game's reputation today, but why is it like this? The best answer I can give is simply time and circumstance. Think back to when Sonic Colors first came out. What were the games that preceded this? Secret Rings, Unleashed, and Black Knight. Games I would argue, and most others would argue, are far worse than Colors, so when the aforementioned released, it was a breath of fresh air. To fans, these issues weren't worth getting upset over, given what they've been dealing with for the past few years. Yeah, the levels are short, but at least it's not on rails. Yeah, there might be a bit too much 2D in this 3D game, but at least there's no Werehog. Yeah, the story is extremely simple, but at least it's not trying too hard. The previous games lessened the blow of the faults in Colors because nothing that Colors did was as bad as before. But fast forward to today, where Sonic Colors can be played without having to sift through years of garbage, and its faults are now front and center. The cushion of the previous entry's problems is no longer there, as this game is finally judged off its own merit in the present day. The short stages, the lack of 3D, the simple story, all now perceived worse than they were upon release. And Sonic Colors Ultimate was a glitchy mess, so that probably didn't help things, you corner-cutting freak! With all this in mind, it's obvious to see why this game has faltered over the years. Despite all this, however, Sonic Colors is still a good game, let's make no mistake. Definitely still one of the best of the modern era. It's just a bit easier to see the issues it has. Issues that were clouded all those years ago. But, with that all said, I'm Easily Easy, and I'll see you next time. And I'm done with Sonic, because I've talked about Sonic so much, and I've had to repeat myself so many times about the Dark Ages, and this game's bad, and this game was bad, and Sonic was good back then. I'm done. We're talking about something else. I don't know, but anything else. Bye.